What if you could craft an offer so irresistible your clients could not say no? It's offering the right product at the right time to the right person at the right price.
Pricing in the rate that we invest in things is the rate that we value them.
You're not charging enough, but most of you don't have the confidence to do that because you have not slam dunked the offer.
You want to hook them with that emotional, strong transformation, bold promise, and then logic, you want to reinforce that.
And when you're selling high ticket, you need price justification.
The bonuses alone should sell the offer.
In this episode, we're going to show you the 5 elements of an irresistible offer, step by step, plus real world examples, and the most common mistakes that we see online business owners make that absolutely kill the sale. So if you want to actually add more money to your bottom line and crush your offers, make them absolutely irresistible, you've got to watch this episode. Let's
Show
get
me
into
the
it.
money, please.
Of course you had to go there. What's up, familia? It's Kim,
And Chris.
and you're listening to the Business Lounge podcast.
In each episode, we'll break down all the latest in online marketing, give you all the deets on what's working now to turn your content into customers, boost your leads and sales, and scale your business fast.
All without compromising on what you care about most: faith, family, and freedom. And listen, it's all real, raw, and unfiltered. So let's start the show. Welcome back to the Business Lounge podcast. I am your co-host, Kimberly Ann Jimenez. I'm here with Chris.
I am also your co-host.
Co-host. Season 8. It's been amazing so far. Released the first 3 episodes, and you guys.
So did you get promoted?
Did I get promoted for what?
From manager to
No,
co-manager?
I got demoted.
Yeah, I'm getting promoted as well.
I got demoted and you got promoted.
Host to co-host.
Listen, stay focused. I was talking about how awesome the response has been to the first 3 episodes, and we're super pumped. Those we batch in advance, guys. We had no idea if they were going to do well or not. We told you that in the first couple ones, but you guys loved our pricing episode so far. We've only released 2 of them. I think the third one's going to be more like a connection piece. I don't know if people are going to love that one, but we'll see. We get a bunch of unsubscribes.
We're currently still in the free world.
So it'll be interesting. You guys loved talking about pricing, and if you haven't watched our pricing episode, go watch that after this one. This one is very foundational. We're going to talk about, again, that offer. And I think, Chris, this is one of the things we see constantly that holds online business owners back, especially if you have a service or you sell a course or kind of hybrid where you do coaching and also courses. Guys, you're not charging enough, but most of you don't have the confidence to do that because you have not slam dunked the offer just yet. And that's what we're going to teach you to do in today's episode. So let's start off by talking about the popular offer mistakes we see constantly.
Yeah, I think it's important to start with mistakes first, because once you can kind of eliminate most of those, then we can start building on efforts. But most of what we see, I would say, is going to be a lot of the mistakes that people are making.
Yeah, especially when it comes to pricing. Like that first one where it's either too low, too high, or super confusing.
Yeah, so we got a slide pulled up for you guys, and we got our cat visiting, one of our cats.
Hello, Tina. You want to say hi to everybody?
So she's here. That's happening. So let me pull this up for you guys real quick, because I think this would be super helpful to go ahead and see this.
We got slides.
So we talked about this in the last episode, right? When your pricing is all over the place, you don't have a concrete pricing strategy, you haven't validated that pricing. We call it qualifying the pricing, right? But so it's either too low, too high, or it's just confusing. And a lot of people get a little too cutesy with some of their price positioning, where they're like, well, you could do this for this and this for this. So I have an executive coach that I work with, and I'm not picking on anybody in particular here, but he was getting quotes to do like a ghostwriter for his book that he's releasing. And one person just was trying to be so flexible and so accommodating that it was just outright confusing. So even though her pricing was actually, when you figured it all out, it wasn't as bad in the sense of expensive, right? In his view. But it was exhausting, too many calories for him to have to figure out what the heck would be what.
Yeah,
and
the final price.
Right. And so sometimes what we end up doing is to try to over accommodate all the different specific requests that we may get from people. Our pricing is actually confusing.
Yeah, and I think we see this a lot with service providers too, where you are used to custom quoting for individual clients. And so when you are forced to come up with an actual offer, then you're like, well, you could add this and you could do that. And then it just becomes like a discombobulated, that's the word I'm looking for, mess. And it's too overwhelming. So I think that a lot of times when we, like you said, when we make their clients exhaust too many calories, you lose them.
They're gone.
It's got to be clear. It's got to be simple. It's got to be precise. And so I don't know if you have other examples or anything you want to add on to that.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of software programs, they have like 5 different tiers.
Yes, too many.
And you have to go through and figure it all out. I was looking at, so we've been doing some air quality monitoring in our house for reasons. The Glade.
It's going to come out in an episode, y'all. It's coming.
The Glade Queen lived here before us.
Crazy
oh my gosh.
Courtney.
Anyway, crazy Courtney. But anyways, I can't believe we name dropped her. But anyway, so I've been testing all these different air quality monitors to read different things like VOCs and formaldehyde and what have you. And one of them is actually one of the more notable brands in the space. It's called Temtop. And they're like, this is the one, right? All of the research I did said this is the one. But I'm looking at the different options they have, and there's like a chart of like 7 different products. The M10 measures formaldehyde. The M10 Plus does not. Make that make sense. You'd think it'd be the other way around. Yeah. And then they have this whole chart where like their most expensive thing actually does less than one of their like $67 offers. Like it just makes no sense. And so they're trying to probably accommodate all these different specific use cases that may make sense to people in the industry, you know, from a professional thing, but it's a consumer grade product.
Yeah.
So again, doesn't make sense, right? If you're selling a professional grade product, then you can get into that level of nuance because you might have specific trades that know exactly that's what they do all day, every day. But for me, I just returned it. I'm like, hey, I know this one that I ended up going with is maybe not the most esteemed, but it's clear. I know how to use it. It has a great interface, right? And it's giving me within a relatively reasonable rate of accuracy. And so there were some shortfalls to it, but again, I'm not confused about what the actual offer is. So I actually said no to the quote industry leader and went with one less because of the confusing, overwhelming nature of that offer that they were presenting.
Okay, I love that. So we're going to talk more about like how do you present an offer that's clear and concise. Yeah. But one of the things I also wanted to touch on is too low or too high. Yeah. So when we're talking about pricing that's either too low or too high, I think we often, because no one teaches us this, we get confused and we're like, well, we're just going to undercut whoever the next competitor is. Mm-hmm. Mistake. You never want to do that. There's really 3 things you need to be thinking about, and it's offering the right product at the right time to the right person at the right price. Those 4 things need to be in alignment. And so I think sometimes people who, like if you're getting a lot of no's when you are presenting your offer, it might be that it's too high, but it also could be that it's too low. Yeah. And I think most people don't know that sometimes in most markets, actually, if you're too low, if you're the lowest option,
it's a negative perception.
It's a negative perception. I don't know if you want to talk about the study that you reference on wine and different bottles and kind of like how pricing affects it. But
I've talked about it.
Fascinating to me.
Yeah, I've talked about it a lot. It was in the book, The Power of Habit, I believe. Anyway, so they had a group, 2 different groups, right? I think it was 3 actually, but regardless, let's pretend that it was 2. And so one group got a $90 bottle of wine. The other got a $9, like just one numerical value, $9. So pretty significant difference, right? And they had them try, the corresponding wines, and then they had them switch rooms, and then they tried, whatever. Well, the kicker is that they took the label off. So they had no idea. All they knew that this was a $90 bottle of wine, and this was a $9 bottle of wine. Unanimously across the board, when they asked the groups which one was the best, all of them said the $90 bottle of wine, only to find out that it was actually the same freaking wine in both bottles. And so what it says is that pricing in the rate that we invest in things is the rate that we value them. Mm-hmm. And that's why you'll see people go do crazy things like spend $2,000 a night on staying at the Four Seasons because it says something about you. Mm-hmm. It's like a status symbol or some, like being seen in that view or staying at a certain place, having that exclusivity. So I'm not telling everybody that you need to have a luxury brand. That's not what we're saying. But it needs to be priced according to your particular ICA, your particular person that you sell, and what they value and what's going to meet them where they're at.
Exactly. And so sometimes having too low of a price for a market that is more sophisticated is a major mistake because we invest a lot of dollars on things like wellness, for example. Right. And a lot of the coaches and consultants and the service providers that we see, their prices are so low that I immediately think that's not for me. That's not going to help. It's not going to work.
Right.
If your prices are too low, you immediately associate that with cheap. You know, you associate it with, you know, kind of like general, common, not valuable.
What am I missing? Why is this so inexpensive?
Exactly.
Right?
It must not be good is what a lot of people think.
Right.
So you got to be careful about underpricing and then also overpricing. There is something to be said about market resistance. And we talked about that in our previous pricing episode, where the market is willing to pay so much to have a problem solved, right? And so some of you guys have to shift the person completely to have an irresistible offer because you are trying to sell to people who do not have the means to actually invest in your solution. And so that's really important to make sure that you have.
Yeah, and you have to understand too, so we're going to talk about this in a little bit, that what's the transformation that you're selling? Because if the transformation will warrant the investment, then maybe you can get away with a higher price tag. So I'll give you an example of an anecdote, a situation that we experienced. Kim and I were going to work with these NLP practitioners. Kim's brother Brian had gotten NLP certified, neuro-linguistic programming. It's a form of you don't even know what it means. It's a form of therapy that's more like subconscious rooted, basically, right? And so we were like, that's awesome. Like, we want to do that. Like, we want to engage in that. It seems like it's helped Brian a lot. So we're always looking for ways to level up and what have you. And so we approached that. And we talked to the people he worked with. And I'm not throwing stones at them. I kind of am. But basically, we had this.
You're not, but you, Chris. Oh my gosh.
It's a soft throw.
Yeah, it's
not like a full. It's not a wind up.
It's a little flick.
Yeah, this isn't. This is.
I can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not going full Cy Young with this rock throw. I'm going more underhand toss, right?
It's
a gentle toss. So anyways, we approached them. They had this, like, they really got to the root of what we were looking for. It was like, like, there's some stuff, and we all have conditioning and baggage that we carry, like things we've experienced in life, little T traumas, little T. So that's what they call it. It sounded kind of beta, so I'm making fun of it. But anyways, so bottom line is that we get to the end and, like, we're ready for the big hoorah pitch, right? And they just, like, come right out of the gates and they're like, yeah, so it's $50,000. We're like, say what? Who? Like, what?
It was supposed to be like,
am I working directly with Dr. Phil? Like, what's happening? Like, what's going on here?
And here's the crazy part. We have dropped that same amount for much less without blinking and batting an eye at all.
Right.
So it's not like we are not used to being big spenders and investing in our business.
Right.
But the way they set it up was so terrible in terms of building the value that we were like, because we were coming in thinking, oh, what you're trying to give us is like marriage therapy. Exactly. It's a therapy session.
Exactly.
Oh, cool. It's a program. Maybe a couple $1,000s. When they drop a $50K, I was like, what?
No, I checked out. Kim's like, you were so rude.
Chris
I was like,
so mad.
I was so perplexed. I was mad. I was actually mad. I'm like, are you for real?
But
like,
again,
I was so insulted, and I was like, so I just checked out. Kim's like, you were so rude.
You're so rude.
I was like, couldn't help it. I was so, like, offended by the fact
Chris cannot hide any of his emotions.
I'm like, really? Like, you guys are crazy.
But why? They didn't build value into the offer. It was not an irresistible offer. It was a very, like, anticlimactic pitch. And so I think kind of understanding the psychology behind it and making sure that you're using these 5 elements we're about to talk about is super important.
They didn't build it into, so they didn't connect it, right? We're going to talk about that. Like, everything is going to be selling either health, wealth, or relationships.
Exactly.
And so there really wasn't that. And so if you're going to do a $50,000 play, it better be tied to wealth.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to unlock your earning potential.
Right.
Like, you're going to advance so far in your career. Your business is going to explode.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how you sell it through that lens. So if you're going to make it just about relationships, which is what they did, and then they kind of give you the guilt trip of like, but is your wife not worth investing $50,000 in your relationship? I'm like, yes, of course she is.
Your wife also wants to go on a round the world trip.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do.
But like, we don't have a $50,000 problem we're trying to solve here. Like, we're just trying to like continue building on what we have, which is pretty great in my opinion. And so I think she agrees. But
yes.
But again, like, that's where the offer comes into play, because if you're like, hey, I'm going to help you become this amazing life coach that's going to make millions of dollars, this is the investment, $50,000, and then, here are the pricing plans that we have, so you can break that out so you're actually making money to pay for it, and then do some price justification on that. Like, none of that was presented. It was like, yep, $50,000 and wire us the money. And it's like, whoa. So that was just an example of either overpricing, right?
Yes.
And also the lack of putting together a really solid offer that actually justified that price presentation.
100%. But I also think that the problem is really important here. You said something key. We don't have a $50,000 problem.
Right.
If our marriage
I
was
don't
on
think
the
so
rocks,
anyway. She might disagree with that. She would be like, hey, bro.
I'd let you know. Trust me, you would know.
Speak for yourself.
No, but like if our marriage was like on the rocks and we had tried everything else, right? And we were like, this is going to affect our business because now we're business partners. We have kiddos. Like, you know, for us, the D word is not, and the D word is divorce for everyone thinking other things.
Y'all nasty.
Yes. Because I hear some of your dudes in the comments.
Why gotta be the dudes?
Talking about, because it is the dudes.
All right.
I'm talking about the divorce word. For us, it's not an option.
Yeah.
But I think that if you were in that situation where you were absolutely desperate, then maybe a $50,000 price point would make sense.
If they presented it as the like, we save your marriage when everything else has failed.
1,000%.
It's like, yes. And also we work, another thing, we work with high level executives to save their marriage when everything else has failed.
Right.
Because here's the deal. They're going to talk to you about, look, it's $50,000 or you're splitting tens of millions of dollars, right? So that executives like take whatever credit card you accept.
Right.
Because for me, if I'm a Bezos level type person, I mean, obviously that's far and few between, but let's say you're worth several $1 million. Okay. Well, now 50 grand, but again, it wasn't in alignment with that at all.
Yes.
And so you have to be able to understand it. We're going to talk about layers of specificity. So a layer of specificity, like I just said, high level, high net worth, probably somebody that has a lot to lose, right? Meaning in the sense of a divorce, right? So for them, we help save your marriage for whom? So who it's for, and then what it actually accomplishes.
Right.
Those two layers of specificity will help you put together that offer and make sure that you're in the right ballpark as far as what you're presenting in terms of pricing.
100%. And when you're selling high ticket, you need to do what Chris just did, which is price justification. You got to justify it. Why are you charging $50,000? Well, a great argument
Save you 10
to
mil.
justify the price is not just, I'm going to save you 10 mil that's going to cost you in the process of the divorce, but you're going to spend $50K just on the lawyer, at least.
True. Right?
So divorces are really expensive. If you can price anchor and price justify against the expense of just hiring a divorce, not to mention the drama, the crazy like the splitting of friends, having to figure out, who's going to get what, and then also like the bitterness and the resentment, pull some statistics about how most couples who get divorced and enter into a second marriage have a like 70% higher chance of divorcing again.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where like if you present the facts and you price justify, then you can sell a high ticket offer. But for the most part, most people don't do that, and they don't do it well.
Yeah, they don't, or they don't do it at all like these people did. And so again, it was a light toss of a stone, but I've never talked to him since, and I'm not because I'm mad or like butthurt about it, but it's like, guys, like I have no interest in even pursuing or following up with that. Like
100%.
It literally makes no sense for us to even follow up with that. So
You were just turned off by the sales process.
Yeah, it had no relevancy to me. Like it wasn't even room for discussion after that. So that would be one. I think that would also fall into number 2 here, which I'm going to pull this back up now here, which is
this one's bad.
Lack of clarity and the confusion overload. So sometimes, again, I would go more back to what we talked about before with the confusing nature of the offer. But sometimes I see a lot of my like engineering type bros.
Yes.
And they overcomplicate the crap out of everything because people fall in love with how it works because you built it. And I get that. Like you fall in love with your program and what it is and what it's not. And so you got them, and then you keep talking, and then you talk yourself out of the sale, and you talk yourself out of the potency of the message because you don't really know what the message is. So you're kind of playing like pin the tail on the donkey with your offering, and you're just, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. And next thing you know, there's no clarity at all. There's no clear transformation that you're helping them accomplish. The process is overly complicated and clunky. They don't even know what it's going to look like. They're like, oh, but that doesn't actually, like, that's not who I am. Right. And so it's really, really important that you have conciseness. And again, that's going to come down to what I talked about before, which is who do you serve and in what ways do you serve them? And then your unique process, which is going to have really specific, clear, step-by-step, hopefully, right? If you're a coach, right, it's very clear. But your product, like here's how it works, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, right? So those things are really, really critically important. But when we talk about a promise or a transformation, especially if they've already tried something before, there's going to be a level of doubt there. And so having your core process be very clear about here's how I help you do it as a qualified guide. Like you're the guide that's going to help me achieve this thing, whatever that is that you help people achieve, whether that's a SaaS platform or whether that's, some kind of coaching business or service that you render or whatever. Like it's important that people can see clearly, here's what you promise, here's who it's for, and here's the process by which people achieve it.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes when we're doing coaching reviews, because we do a lot of those in TBL Plus, for those of you guys who are listening, that we'll take your sales page or we'll look at your pitch and review it. When we have to wonder what is the offer exactly, that's a problem, right? And so we want to clarify who the offer is for and also what it is.
And sometimes who it's not for.
And often who it's not for. We see a lot of people also misuse bonuses and that they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink into the offer. And then I have no idea what the offer is because you whittled it down so much. Bundles. You lose the impact and it just does not play well. So I think that's a really big mistake. The other one, Chris, which is number 3, no urgency, scarcity, or reason to buy now. This is so critical, you guys. So especially as what we're seeing right now takes more and more place in the online space, that we're looking at more evergreen businesses than ever, less launches, less, big kahuna promotions. A lot of times as service providers, as online business owners, as course creators, we're like, how do we create scarcity when we're just selling something evergreen? And so I think that really thinking through what would push someone over the edge to buy your thing is super important. So we'll throw in, I never use the word throw in a sales conversation. I just said that, never say that. But we will have a cool limited time bonus that goes away. So for example, if we're doing quarterly promotion on one of our programs, whether it's our one-on-one coaching program or the group coaching tier in TBL, we'll have a bonus that expires. So we'll do, hey, when you join our program, you're also going to get these 3 bonuses that expire within 24 hours as an example. And it'll be a VIP day or a coaching week with us on Voxer.
They're pretty juicy.
Super juicy. It might be an asset review. It might be all of our bootcamp replays. So this slide right now that you're looking at is from one of our boot camps. And so those kind of bonuses that we know are going to be really, really exciting for people are the thing that usually moves the needle. In fact, I would say bonuses would be the thing that a lot of people buy for, and we'll get there in a second. But I think layering scarcity, layering urgency, is the price going to go up? Right? Are you going to have a bonus go away? Do you have limited seats, limited amount of clients that you can take on? There's many ways in which you could layer scarcity.
Usually I layer all of those in.
If you can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If you can layer them in. And the fast action bonuses that we use, so like what Kim said, if we have an evergreen offer, you can't have a fast action, meaning from the time that they're presented with the offer, they have a certain time frame to get back to you. And I would say it usually needs to be like 24 to 48 hours max.
Yeah.
I never say like, well, I'll get back to you at the end of the month. No. Because don't let them dictate the terms. No, we offer these bonuses for the next 2 days or the next 24 hours, tomorrow at midnight, whatever. And then you be shocked how they'll make it happen, how they'll make it work, if it's a juicy enough, type of an offer. So
I think bonuses too, when you give them a deadline.
I said offer. I meant bonus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the expiring bonus is juicy enough. Yeah.
Got it. I think too, when you actually give them a deadline, they have to make a decision.
They have to.
And I think oftentimes, especially women, we stay on the fence way too long because the fear factor is so intense. We don't believe that we can actually ROI often on an offer. And so when we're buying something, especially if it's higher mid-ticket, we'll think about it forever. I have girls who, like, you guys have listened to this podcast for 7 or 8 years and never have bought anything. It's like, what are you doing? But then you're messaging me about like, hey, I'm still stuck in this thing. It's like, come work with us. Like we've made it accessible. We've made it available. But the fear keeps us stuck. And so having a deadline pushes people into making a decision that's yes or no. And I think in sales, you have to help people make the yes or no decision quickly. That's part of an irresistible offer, because when someone sees it that is the right fit for your program and is your ideal client, it is an instant yes. It should be an instant yes when it's irresistible, meaning it has been priced right. You're speaking to people with a bold promise, so the message is on point. You're have a timely offer, so you're solving a problem that's timely. For example, we work with a lot of people in the wellness niche. oftentimes, we'll have them think about their promotional calendar, and they're bringing a January 1st message to like Thanksgiving. It's like people don't want to think about getting in the best, shape of their life when they're about to gorge themselves over Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. But they will do that at the beginning of the year.
For us, it's going into the summer because we work with so many parents, moms specifically in marketing. And so for them, they're like, oh, but my kids, and I'm not going to be able to maximize this program.
Right.
So they're not going to get the full return on their investment, right? Yeah. So that's so we just plan our promotional calendar around that.
Totally. Summer
and we're
school.
just like, cool. So whatever, if you have, and there will be seasonal natures. I'm not saying every business is going to be seasonal in that regard, but I think you will see typical ebbs and flows in any market regardless. It may not be crazy seasonal, but I think you will start to see some of those trends. And so you kind of want to build around that, right?
It could also be, a trend in the market. So for example, timing doesn't always have to be at the beginning or the end of the year or whatever. It could also be like, hey, you have a 2019 offer. Like for example, right now courses are not super hot, especially the really big ones. Yeah. If you're selling courses right now, you should go check out episode number 1 of this series because it's fantastic. It's all about what's trending.
It'll be linked up above.
Yes. But with courses, it has to be hyper specific. Yeah. No one has the capacity or the attention span right now when they have ChatGPT to go through a 50 lesson course. Yeah. They just don't have the appetite to do that. So you have to be strategic with timing and presenting an offer that people want today, not an offer that they would have bought 5 years ago. And that's something we work with clients on all the time.
Yep.
All right, next one.
So next we have...
We're getting there. See, you're having the job of Jamie. And also...
we need a young Jamie.
You're Jamie and Rogan.
We need a young Jamie.
Oh, we need a Jamie.
All right, so no clear and compelling bold promise.
Oh, Chris, this one drives me nuts. So
this is where you end up selling a thing, and you sell a bunch of features to a thing, and you don't really have something that actually sells a desired outcome, and that's really what people are looking for. Mm-hmm. They really want a desired outcome of some sort.
Right.
And so I know you may be like, well, I bought my iPhone. No, that means you're still buying something. You're buying a status symbol. In fact, there's a reason. I've told the story a billion times, but I'll tell it again just for those who haven't heard it. But there is a massive internal debate at Apple about whether to make the back of this laptop, right? See how to you, the Apple logo, for those listening, I'm pointing to the Apple logo on the back of Kim's laptop, and make it upright to the viewer. Because what they thought was that when they closed the laptop, that they would say that the Apple logo would be upside down to the actual user, meaning upside down to Kim.
Right.
So they had this massive debate, and what they realized and what they found was that it was more important to the Apple user that other people saw them using an Apple device, and so that they made the actual logo not for your thing that you spent thousands of dollars on, but of what it showed everybody else.
Right.
And so it was about your status, right? Health, wealth, or relationship. It was about showing that you had the wealth to be able to have, you are an Apple person. And you'll see that people do that. They'll stay loyal to brands, sometimes blindly loyal to brands because of what they think it says about them. And so a lot of times what we end up seeing, even if you do sell a physical product, is you're selling a thing and you're selling features. You're not selling transformation and benefit.
Yeah. And
so what ends up happening a lot of times in that case is what you have to do is you just have to undercut pricing. Yeah. And that game didn't even work for Walmart.
That's
commoditized.
Guys, my brain's not working today. That's commoditizing your offer.
Right.
You never want to commoditize your offer because then it's a race to the bottom on price.
Yeah.
So you have to think about is how is your offer different? How is your service different? Your course different? Your coaching different? How is the thing that you sell going to give people transformation? And that is the clear, compelling, bold promise. I think as women too, we're scared to make a bold promise.
Yeah.
And so our clients will come to us.
Like, but what if it doesn't?
And it's like, let's say that you're selling copywriting services.
Right.
And the bold promise that they bring us back is like, you'll have your copy written in 30 days. And it's like, girl, I assume that's that is the minimum that should happen, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be like, hey, you're going to actually be able to raise your prices and attract a wait list of clients because your messaging is so dialed in that when your ideal client sees your thing, they're going to want to pay you right now. That is a bold, compelling promise. There's a big difference between a weak promise and a very strong one.
Whereas I think Dan Kennedy, he won't even take a look at writing your sales copy for less than $500,000 plus ongoing commissions for that sales page, which is crazy.
So it's one of those things where it's like, why are you not, And I think it comes down to confidence. Why are you not confident about your offer? Well, you might need to do it more and get people results. I think sometimes when you're just getting started, it's hard to have a clear and compelling promise.
Yeah.
And that's why for us, we like working with experts, with people who already are established, who have gotten people results, because all we have to do is position their offers in a way that is more attractive, is teach them how to speak in ways that will activate their ideal client. And so sometimes you got to get real with yourself and say, like, are you having a confidence problem because you haven't gotten people results? Or are you having a confidence problem because you haven't invested the time in really thinking through, okay, these are the results I've gotten people. Why am I letting emotions and fear get in the way?
And we talked about having a Muddy Boots or founding member rate, right, in the previous episode. And sometimes you just need to even do stuff. I don't want to say pro bono. I don't want to say that. But sometimes, at least at a very deeply discounted rate, at that founding member or Muddy Boots rate, just to prove it, to provide as a use case and get actual feedback as a testimonial. So that seemed to resonate with a lot of people when I said that. And sometimes you just need to do it, even if it's not the grand iteration of what you want to do. Meaning, I want to render this service online. Well, you might need to roll up your sleeves and go do it in the real world and get experience. In fact, I actually told people this as well. If you're clear on what you want to do in the world in your business, what's to say you don't get a job in that industry to learn the ropes? It's a paid internship at that point.
Right.
And people don't look at it that way. I have a friend that literally launched a fashion brand, and she has a pretty sizable audience in terms of, like, I think now she even has her own physical products that she sells. It was just a fashion blog, and she would get advertisers and affiliate links and stuff like that. I think she just launched her own physical products. But she literally got a job working in fashion and retail just so she could learn the industry, because there's so many things you need to learn. Inventory management, right? Like all the things that go into that. And so she was like, yeah, I just looked at it as like a paid internship. And I'm like, that's such a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't we do that? So I think the internet sometimes has made us so blind to the actual real world opportunities of just like, hey, spend 6 months, go work in the industry. You might find after 6 months, you're like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't waste time going and starting a business in this space because I don't like it at all. And so that's something that I really recommend doing. And I think it's going to also help you get clear on what the bold promises that you want to make or how you want to serve people in that space as well.
100%. I feel like we have people on two opposite sides of the spectrum. Either you have never actually experienced working with a client and providing results and creating a transformation, and you want to charge premium prices, and it's like, oh, hold up, that is not in integrity. You can't do that. You need an actual portfolio. You need to show results, and you need to be able to stand behind the transformation. This can't be a like, oh, well, maybe we'll get them results someday. People are paying, and they expect results. That's really important.
It's their money, and they want it now.
They want it now. The other side of the spectrum, which we see a lot with our girls, is they're experts. They freaking got featured on all the places. You know, they're basically on Oprah. They've worked with celebrities. Am I wrong?
No, it's true.
Work with freaking experts, incredible technicians.
Actual celebrities, that's real.
Yes.
She's not making that up.
But then, for some reason, you just don't actually feel confident about your offers, and you're charging like bottom of the barrel prices.
I think the one...
It's really important to know like who you are and apply what we're sharing accordingly.
Yeah. No, I seriously, we've seen people actually work with celebrities, and they're like, $75 for a personal consultation. I'm like,
what?
I could go to the local Macy's and they're going to charge me more than that for a one-on-one consultation. Like, you have actually worked with celebrities. Like, that's crazy.
It's wild.
So yeah, super important that you get that one. Okay. I actually maximize
I know.
this
I'm
now.
so sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm just trying to make it engaging
You
here.
got a system. I love it.
All right.
Okay. So the next two, I think, are tied together.
All right. Bonuses that don't add value to the offer. Okay. So
good.
This is super, super important, because sometimes I think people, they just start throwing the whole kit and caboodle into an offer, and they're like, oh, my bonuses. And they don't actually add any real value to your offering. And so what we try to think about, right, is what are going to be the objections to the offer that we're presenting without the bonuses. The bonuses alone should sell the offer. The bonuses should make it a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So sometimes what we'll do, like, think if we're helping you, let's say the offer presentation was that we're inviting you to join us in a funnels boot camp, and you've got this massive mental block around tech hurdles. And so let's say we're going to give you some templates that we've already created that you just have to plug and play to build your funnel, right? As a bonus, but a limited time bonus for signing up right now. Or you get one-on-one tech time with Brian, our lead developer, right? So like, he's going to help hold your hand and walk you through, or get at least the basics set up for you. Some of our group coaching, some people are like, but I want that like one-on-one. I don't want to just jump into the group. I want some like one-on-one time with you and Kim as well. And so we'll say, cool. Depending on the tier that you sign up at, like if you full pay or if you do annual versus 6 months, you'll get more dedicated time, like a VIP day with Kim and I, or a couple VIP days, or a Zoom strategy call. And oftentimes, guys, they will literally be like, they had no intention of joining whatsoever, and then go nuts and sign up that night and pay in full, like thousands of dollars, just because of that bonus of being able to get some one-on-one time with Kim and I built in as a bonus to the offering.
And I think that's so important because the bonuses need to do one of two things. They either need to save people time or they need to help them make more money. Two things, very simple. And so I think that a lot of times we engineer, what is the word I'm looking for? We like overbuild the offer itself, and then we have no bonuses left over. Sometimes you have to scale the offer down because it stands on its own as it is. You don't have to add the whole kit and caboodle, and then just pluck a feature or two from the offer and make it a bonus. Oftentimes we see that with courses and memberships where you already have so much in the course and membership that you're like, what the heck should be my bonus?
Right.
And then you end up over delivering.
$49 a month and you've got thousands of dollars of stuff you're basically giving away. That should, if you're going to do that, they need to be bonuses. And oftentimes what we try to do, if you do have different offers in your offer suite, like let's say for our case, right? So there's a membership level, and then there's group coaching and one-on-one coaching. We'll always give them a bonus that teases the next thing. So if you sign up for, TBL Academy, which shameless plug is the actual like self-study, aspect of what we do, right? And then we'll give you as a bonus, you'll get like 1 month of group coaching included when you sign up and pay in full. And so we're teasing the next thing. Same with group. When you sign up, like I said, you get some VIP time with Kim and myself. That teases one-on-one, like what that would look like and the value of that. So it can be countering objections or showing off the next thing in your product suite because they're gonna quickly ascend. I would say our ascension rate for people that actually engage, like meaning they don't just buy and disappear, because that does happen. It's crazy. They'll pay $2,000 and then they just disappear. But for the people that actually buy and engage, I would say our ascension rate is probably over 80%.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
I think the majority reason for that is because we are always teasing and giving them bonuses for the next thing. So it's palpable. It's tangible. They can taste it. They get to see the benefit from it. They'll come out of a strategy call with us or one-on-one time and they'll be like, okay, my goal is to make, I'm going to go from $2,000 to $4,000 a month over the next 4 months. And we're like, you could triple that. And we give them a strategy to do it, and they do it.
It's just like this podcast, except you guys are on the other side of the camera and we're bringing you in and kind of showing you how to apply these strategies to your specific business and be like, hey, this is a problem that you have in your offer. These are a couple ideas for bonuses. This is how you could charge more. This is how you could add an upsell or a cross sell. This is how we would do the math in reverse for you and say, okay, how much is your service? Cool. This is the amount of clients you need to hit your first X amount of milestone. And so I think that's really important, which brings us to the ad spot in this episode. So guys, today's episode is brought to you by none other than TBL Plus, our group coaching program. So if you are an online business owner who already has traction in your business and you want to grow consistently, you want to start attracting more clients and customers that are your dream people through content, we have our proprietary content to customers method, which is what we teach inside of group coaching. So we're super excited for you to join us. There's going to be an application link below, or you can text the word TBL Plus to the number on the screen. That's TBL Plus. And for those of you who are listening on audio, that's 866-498-2080, 866-498-2080. That's our direct business line. You can actually text back and forth with Chris and I. We'll tell you about the program, whether it's the right fit.
I got my phone right here.
And I'm
ready.
We'd love to have you join us. It's a group of mission-focused entrepreneurs. Most of us are faith-based, and we're just coming together as a collective to really level up our content, turn it into customers consistently, and make sure that we're positioning our business for growth and for scale. We have people from all walks of life and multiple different industries, and so we'd love to see you in there.
Let's go. All right, next we got too many bonuses, no bonuses at all. We kind of talked about that. So sometimes he would just throw the whole, like Kim said, the whole kit and caboodle in there. So too many bonuses or no bonuses at all. Okay, so we kind of already touched on this, so we're going to just skim through that one. Others, so trying to sell more than one offer on the same page. We talked about that, overcomplicating the offer.
Oh my gosh, guys, please don't do that. When you have a sales page, do not sell more than one offer. It's very confusing.
Adding random content or opt-ins to the sales page. Guys, don't show them the door. We have so many people that like it'll pop up and be like, but you can just get this free thing instead. And it's like, no. Maybe an exit intent pop. There's something that you can do where you're like, hey, they're about to leave, so let's try to save that in some way. But you'd be shocked how many times we have people that'll be like, read this blog instead. It's like, no. They're here to buy. Keep that the focus.
There should never be a lead magnet pop-up on your sales page.
Never.
The amount of people, and this
Or
is not
menu.
shaming you at all, guys. It's not shaming you. It's calling you up so that you have conversions so that you can make more money. Because the amount of people, Chris, that we see who have freaking exit pops that show people a lead magnet or a free workshop or a blog post. No, you don't want to do that. You should have no menu items on your sales page. There should be no social media buttons. And there should not be any exit path to a lead magnet or a blog post
on your sales page.
On your sales page. This is just for your sales page. This isn't your home page or your services page. We're talking about your sales page.
Yep. All right, no price anchoring and no price justification. We've talked about this already.
What would you say, though, briefly with price anchoring that is really important? Especially if you're selling high ticket.
We talked about it in the last episode at length, so I would go back and listen to that. But I think the biggest thing is you need to understand the value associated with what you're offering. You need to justify the price to yourself.
Right.
And that means you need to figure out, like, okay, what am I actually delivering here? If it's a 6-month sprint, like, I need to figure out the time associated with that. And then I need to actually make the customer aware of the time that I'm actually investing in that. So price justification is really building value in the sale. Yeah. And again, we talked about it in the last episode. So if you want to dig more into that, I would absolutely go back and check that out.
I think one of the ways we could do that too really easily is doing the math of ROIing.
Yes.
You know, like if you're charging $200 for a chiropractic adjustment, as an example, well, back surgery is going to cost you $10,000. So reverse engineer the investment.
Save the marriage situation
is so important.
Yeah. So price anchoring against other things or against other services that you offer is the way to go. Not addressing objections with your offer. So don't try to sell around objections, sell through objections. So if you know there's going to be a common objection that comes up, just address it, right? Like one of our, we talked about our dietitian client before, but she's like, some people don't want to be on a restricted diet for a long time. And I'm like, okay, well, you get to choose your suck because you can stay sick and you can continue to eat the food you want, or you can do this for a limited time where I'm going to put you on a 6-week limited restricted diet, and this is going to help you grossly amplify your healing journey and catalyze the process, and then we can start to reintroduce foods and so on and so forth. You get back to normal. So you just sell through them and address it head on. If there's a reason for it, if there's a reason why you need to be on a restrictive diet, make that clear. It doesn't work without it, or it works much faster because you do it. Great, but sell through it. And so some people will be like, well, and they try to talk around it or sell around it. And, you know, it's like you can't have McDonald's and have your health as well if you're in a compromised health space.
Exactly. Or you pretend like it doesn't exist. Like, oh, it's going to be fun. You know, the restricted diet is not a big deal. It's going to suck, and that's okay. Yeah. But here's what's on the other side of that. It's you getting your energy back. It's you finally breaking free from all these infections. It's you actually being able to like pick up your kids without losing your breath. You got to sell people on the benefit. And like you said, don't pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yep. All right. Zero clarity on the transformation. We've kind of talked about that with the bold promise. Yes, yeah, so we already kind of talked about that. But you need to have a clear, bold promise. There needs to be a clear transformation. You need to show people what your product or offer is going to provide them and what does the other side of things look like from where they're at right now, and make that very clear. Selling features, not benefits. This is probably one of the biggest things that we see as people. They're selling features, but you're not telling me why it matters. So a little bit of a ninja strategy you can utilize is if you're going to bring up a feature, always do so that you get 7 lessons to learn about, you know, your unique personality. Okay, so that what? So that you can actually utilize some of your unique attributes, leverage it to your benefit, and make more sales. Whatever, I literally just riffed that whole thing. But you always bolt on so that, and it can be redundant, it doesn't matter. I literally would just use so that. So feature, so that, and then add benefits. But force yourself to add a benefit if you're going to talk about features because it works. Okay, next. We are rocking and rolling here. I think we already talked about this, the popular mistakes. Okay, do you want to talk about real quick the 5 key elements of profitable offers?
I love it. I think that this is, and you can also bring up the more visual aesthetically
Yeah.
pleasing
Let's
version,
do that
because I
one.
think it's a little
Let's
bit
do that
easier
one.
to follow. But okay, we talked about all the mistakes, and of course it's going to lead us to the solution. And a lot of this we've already kind of covered as we're talking about the mistakes, but this is kind of your checklist. This is a place where you really want to think through, okay, these are the 5 things I need to include in my offer. The first one is a promise, right? We talked about the bold promise. We talked about the transformation. You do not want to have a weak promise. And I don't know, let's say that it's organic gardening, right? As an example, maybe you teach people how to start their gardens, and the number one thing people are requesting is they want to learn how to grow their own tomato. And so we have a joke in that space. I'm a big gardener, and Chris is like, yeah, your $200 tomato.
Yeah, we have $200 tomatoes.
It's so true.
I have literally put in the amount of work that I put in for Kim to grow $200 tomatoes
true.
is unbelievable.
But I think with the promise, you don't go in and you tell people, oh, I'm going to teach you how to grow a single tomato, like successfully. Yay.
Yeah.
No, you want to have a bold promise and show people, hey, I'm going to show you how to grow pounds and pounds of abundant food in your backyard, even if you have 9 square meters of space, right? So really think about, what is it that your market wants? What is it that your ideal client wants? What are the pains and the problems that they're experiencing? And then create a bold promise. Most of you guys who are listening to the podcast are experts. And so a lot of times you already create incredible results and incredible transformations for your clients. You just don't talk about them enough. And so here, sitting down, thinking through, pulling out a piece of paper and being like, okay, what is my bold promise? I help X person, right? So maybe it's I help busy moms, or I help entrepreneurial women, or I help C-suite executives do what, right? What is that bold thing? What is the transformation? What is the actual exciting promise that you have to share? That's got to be number 1.
Yep. And that will all dictate your positioning. So like we talked about with the NLP practitioner folks that I underhand toss some stones at. So we're thinking about your person and your promise, it will dictate what your position needs to be, right? So how are you positioning your offer in the marketplace? Where do you fit in the marketplace? And so all of that is going to have a layer of specificity, like this is what I do, how I do it, and to whom I do it for.
Yeah.
And then that'll really dictate the positioning in the marketplace, which then dictates what?
Yeah.
Your pricing.
And I think if you go to the next slide, we kind of broke down a little bit of what each one is so that everyone can kind of follow along. I should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah.
But as we go through each one, if you go to the second one, there we go. So promise is that transformation. Positioning is how is it new, different, or the logical next step. Okay. So for example, from this podcast episode, the logical next step for quite a few of you is to get into one of our coaching programs and implement this alongside us, right? Alongside a coach who can actually walk this with you, who can give you customized advice for your particular business, who can say, okay, you're doing this right, you're not doing this right. This is the reason why people are saying no, let's flip it.
I really want to emphasize how it's new or different.
Yeah.
Because we call this solution awareness. And so most of you in the marketplace right now, there's very rampant knowledge of what you offer already. There's many competitors that offer what you offer. And so a lot of us are presenting as though that's not the case. And we're not telling people why our thing is different, AKA better. And so most times, seriously guys, most times when I work with people and I help them figure out how they're different or how this is a new solution to an already existing marketplace, you'd be shocked. We don't have to do a ton of crazy ads. People are like, oh, I could just run some ads and like figure out an ad strategy or some bro hacking and what have you. It's like, no. We can add probably, I mean, I've seen it happen where we add $500,000 in revenue, literally just repositioning.
You did this last year with a client.
Yeah, we
literally
did that. And so we're still working on building some of these things out, but it was, how are you different than everybody freaking else? Mm-hmm. So you have to think about that. Like, people are seeing advertisement for what you do every single hour of every single day. And if you're not showing people how this is a new opportunity off of the current opportunities, or how it's at least different than the other opportunities, and that could be a variety of different ways in which you're doing that. It could be your mechanism, it could be to whom you serve, or a combination of the two, right? So a different approach. I always use the example of Orange Theory. I think that's a really relevant example. So they're like, hey, the reason you have not gotten results at the gym, the reason you're still a flabby butt and you're out of shape, you don't have washboard abs, is because you haven't utilized the orange theory. And what that means is this. It means you keep your intensity level in the orange range. And by doing that for 45 minutes and having group support with a coach helping you maintain that orange level, you will burn more fat than you would if you just go to the gym for 3 weeks doing your own thing. And people are like, that's why. It's not my fault. It was because I didn't have this different new approach called the orange theory. And they took their process so far, they named the whole company after it. So that would be an example, and you could apply it to your specific business. Or if you don't have something that you know makes you different, there probably is a unique flavor to how you approach things, a unique flavor to how you do things. You need to be able to verbalize that to people and communicate that, specifically if there's been, if there's problems that have not been fully solved. And there's always somebody underserved in a marketplace. Always, always, always. There's always somebody that feels like, yeah, this didn't work for me because X, Y, and Z. So finding that opportunity, starting with your person and figuring out how your different or unique solution helps them in ways that others did not help them, that's where you're going to stand out in your marketplace and start grabbing people and attracting people to pay you money, and a lot of it.
Can I just say, like, you definitely sound like the official spokesperson for Orange Theory. Like, you nailed that. That was so ridiculous.
Because I've used the example
People
so many
are going to
times.
think that we're affiliates or something.
No.
We don't even go to the gym. It's just hilarious.
No,
but it's such a good example of like an oversaturated market, which is gyms. So I love that. So be the Orange Theory in your niche. That is the takeaway, especially if you're a service provider.
F-45 did the same thing. They're like, hey, this worked really well. Let's make the F-45.
For sure.
Which sounds like a jet fighter plane, but apparently people love it. So yeah, and all these unique like gyms are coming out, or like there's a co-work/gym and like meeting different people. So you just have to be different. You cannot be the same freaking thing and charge the same amount of money when people are more established than you. It's just a watered down message.
Totally. But I don't want people to think, oh my gosh, there's already all these dietitians, or there's already all these fitness coaches. No. Like, what we're saying is that you need to find your own flavor, like Chris said, your own mechanism, so that you stand out. Not that you have to invent a whole new product. That's not always the case. It's just about positioning it.
Most of the time people already have it. They're just not even aware of it. You have your own unique flavor of genius. You don't even know why you have. You don't even know it exists.
Which is why we have a job.
The problem with having geniuses is that they don't realize that, like, their approach is actually genius, because it's just how they think.
And it's why we have a job, because we pull that out of people, and that's our job to do. And so we want to pull it out of you guys too. So scarcity. Why should you? Oh wait, pricing.
Yeah.
What is the cost? Price anchor. You know how many people are just not confident in I felt that way for a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta sell something that's more than $100. I'm gonna die. It's like, listen, this is worth it, because like Chris said, when you price justify to yourself, it's a lot easier. How many times have we told clients, like, wait, okay, hold up. You're charging $300 for full service, marketing services or social media management. How long did it take you to learn that skill? Oh my gosh, it took me 5 years, or I invested X amount, or I went to school for.
What are you talking about?
If they're charging $300 a month for that service.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't qualify. But justifying to yourself and being like, how much would someone that's a small business owner have to pay to hire somebody, straight out of college and pay them full time to manage their social media? A lot, probably at least $50,000, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, the $300 a month doesn't seem like anything.
Yeah, I remember I helped one of our clients. She does social media management, and I was like, you're going to use the employment angle to pitch yours. Yeah.
That's what we did.
And literally, I think she went from like charging less than $1,000.
We 5x her prices.
Yeah, we 5x her pricing, just be like, okay, so not only is it a salary, but it's also the benefits and everything else.
Yep.
And also easy to breach and say, hey, I don't want to work with this person anymore. Whereas if you fire somebody, now you've got severance or unemployment contributions and so on and so forth. So we literally anchored it against what it would cost and we've actually done this, by the way. We've actually done this with some of our one-on-one coaching, where we anchored it against the cost of like tuition. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait, so you'll invest $150,000 in a college education for maybe a piece of paper that's going to allow you to get a $50,000 entry-level job at best, and yet you won't invest $10,000 in a business that has unlimited earning potential, and you get to do it on your own terms. Make that make sense, bro.
Exactly.
Right? Make that make sense. And so when we challenge people with stuff like that, they're like, yeah. And then immediately they'll wire us $10,000 and be like, you're 100% right. So you have to make people, we get so stuck in our lens and our paradigms, like of what things are and what things cost and what things should be. And so sometimes you have to kind of rattle people's paradigm a little bit to get them to see things through what it actually is, which is reality in our case of, dude, your business. And I even break it down further. I even show them like, hey, what's the cost? This is a thing you can do, by the way. Like if you're walking through and you have a one-on-one sales capacity, do math with people.
Do math.
So I remember we went and did a, what are those? The timeshare, the trial thing where you get like the night or two for free. Yeah. And then you got to go to the tour though, right? So I actually went from like the lens of learning. I'm like, well, let me see how they do this. And what was crazy is they'll ask you qualifying questions. How often do you travel? How often do you vacation? This and that. And they show you all the fancy resorts and this and that. The lavish, and they ask you like, what would this, for you and your wife or you and your kids, imagine yourselves here, like the emotional sell. But then they give you the logical sell, right? So it's emotion then logic. That's how the best salespeople, that's how they do it. So they sit you down and they literally start having you do math. Well, do you guys travel? How often do you travel? We're like, like twice a year. So they like do that. Okay. So you're already doing it. Like, well, what if you did this? And then this puts you here in that beautiful place that we just showed you, and you're actually going to spend about the same amount of money. And it's going to hold you accountable to travel. So that way, if you're doing it anyways, you're going to save money. It's in the best resorts. You're not having to go find a new place everywhere you go, which is inconsistent. You might find an Airbnb that smells funky or is dangerous in the middle of some really janky place. So you know what you're getting. You get to go to all these lavish places. It's through the Hilton umbrella, so you know the Hilton product, right? And then you're actually going to spend the same amount of money anyways, and you can actually gift it to somebody else and they can use it too. So like they had us do the math with them, and they help you price justify it that way. So you can do that. We've done that with coaching. Like we had a big in-person situation, right? And it was like, guys, how many sales do you think you'll get from this boot camp? They're like, hundreds of more sales, hundreds. And we're like, cool. Well, what's that worth to you? Like do the actual math. And I could see them calculating this and that. And I'm like, well, the next one's going to be this, which is literally like one sale for you, or like 1/10 of whatever you would make in addition to what you were making prior to coming to this.
Exactly.
So you have to like help people. We walk them to the sale. We walk them to understanding the real value of something, and that's a really good opportunity. And you may find right now, guys, that selling on a static sales page, your offer, it requires some one-on-one time until you really figure out how to make it irresistible. Have your sales page schedule a call. Have your sales page schedule a Zoom chat, or whatever the case may be, or have your whole dynamic be like, hey, just text me and let's talk. And then that gives you the opportunity to figure that out. Like what works best? How am I going to price justify? What are the bonuses people are looking for? Sometimes we just put up a sales page and then we're so ironclad and focused on the metrics. Well, my conversion rate is 2.84, and it's like, yeah, but dude, if you just hopped on the phone, your conversion rate would probably 65%. Like, do you want to make money now? Like, sure, we can do that long term and run ads to that. But sometimes you just need to roll up your sleeves and just be like, hey, let me figure out how to sell this thing. And let me figure out what people are really looking for. And so I think that was the perfect example of the timeshare situation. That was really impactful, and I borrowed a lot from that.
Sweet. I love it.
Cool. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
I just let it rip because it was good.
Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
All right, next one.
I'll be here all week. Okay, scarcity. We talk about this.
Why should you buy now?
So 53% of our buyers, I made fun of people using data, and then I'm literally like 53% of our buyers. So 53% of our buyers are scarcity deadline buyers. And what that means is that they wait to the last possible second to buy. And probably for us is because they're busy business owners. And so what we have found is that if we don't infuse scarcity in some way or a deadline in some way, whether that's limited seats available, prices expiring, bonus expiring, whatever, there's not enough to push them over the edge because, again, they're managing so many things in their life. So to make your offer truly irresistible, you have to infuse scarcity in some way. You do not want people to be like, yeah, I'll think about it. Nope. Scarcity forces them to make a decision, and that's going to be your best friend, because the last thing you want to have to do is follow up with somebody 6 months from now and be like, are you still thinking about it? Like, can I get you to... No. Give them a deadline. It's yes or no, and usually building in that scarcity or deadline is how you do it.
Absolutely.
All right, Kim, I'll let you take the next one. Sorry, I'm just riffing over here. All right.
Bonuses.
Yeah.
What else do you get? What is the added value? I think the magic number, especially listen, guys, this podcast is for online business owners. I know there's going to be people on YouTube who listen who are not in the online space, and this is not going to make a lot of sense to you. But bonuses, something we use a lot online, whether it's a service or course or coaching or membership, whatever it might be, Substack, subscription, low ticket subscription, whatever. It's something we always add to, again, really figure out a way to move people beyond the like fence factor, right?
Yeah.
We want to get them off the fence.
Right.
And so for bonuses, we really think the magic number tends to be 3, at the most 5. But I think in this market, 3, because 5 is too many calories for people to like, oh my gosh, I need to figure out, all these 5 things. No, just usually give them 3.
Sometimes
one of our coaches has really
2 fast actions.
And we can figure that out later. I think that's an advanced thing. But for right now, 3 is great. One of our coaches always said, use a sandwich method. So make sure that you have the first bonus is usually your best bonus.
Juicy.
The middle bonus is like good. It's good, but it's not like the thing that people want the most. And the third bonus is like your second best. So usually people remember the first thing you said and the last thing you said. They don't always remember the thing in the middle. It's not like they're not going to remember your bonus, but that's usually a little bit of a pricing psychology to like think about how you present your bonuses.
Same with bundles. If you sell a bundle of something, they remember the first few, they forget the middle few, and they remember the last few. Exactly. And so we put the weakest one in the bundle, we put them in the middle. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean your bonuses are weak. It just, for us, let me give you an example. For us, it might be a strategy session. And at the time, it might be the thing that people want the most is like they want to jump on a Zoom call with us and we want to talk about their business. So we have a 30-minute strategy session. Yeah. That might be the first one that we lead with if we feel like that's the most valuable to them. Yeah. And this is going to take some time of you actually pitching this and getting some feedback. The second one might be, let's say, like a VIP day on Voxer with us or an asset review, something that's still super valuable that they're going to love, but it's not necessarily going to be the thing that they're super excited about.
Right.
And then the last one might be like a VIP coaching week on Voxer with us, or it might be, something like, I don't know, our bootcamp replays. Yeah. Depending on the offer and what people want most, we will switch the way that we present it. So the middle one might be a tech call with Brian, or the middle one might be the bootcamp replays, depending on how we feel the market is shifting in this particular time. And so we will test this out and play with, what do people want now? And we'll come to a point where we're like, oh, we validated this bonus. It's amazing. It's accelerating people's results like crazy. So we're going to showcase it as often as we can. And because we do a lot of, back and forth kind of sales conversations through Instagram or via text, we get to see in real time, oh, this resonated. Clearly this resonated because once we pulled out the bonuses, they were in, or we have a little bit of work to do here.
Right. I'm excited for one of our future episodes. I have our entire sales page process built out, and we were going to cover it today, but we've already exceeded our time.
Not too much.
But the cool thing is this, though.
It's coming, though.
The cool thing is this, though. I showed it to one of our new group coaching clients.
You can tease it. You want to tease it?
Shout out to Trillian, yeah. So basically what it does, guys, is it takes everything we talked about and it actually builds it into a 12-step sales page process.
I love it.
In addition to that, it layers in emotion, logic. We talk about you buy with emotion. So when you buy something, right, for the husbands in the room, you'll totally jive with what I'm about to say here. So when you buy something, you're like, oh crap, like my wife is gonna kill me. So you come home, what do you tell her? You don't be like, but I was so excited, babe. You're like, but logical reason.
Well, we do this too. I don't know why you're saying the husband thing.
Women do it too.
I think it's because you're a shopper.
Great deal.
You're
at
a
Ross,
shopper. No,
right?
we do girl math. Yeah. We'll be like, but it was on sale.
Yeah. Kim's thing is she's gonna sell things to cover the thing that she paid for.
That's
so
true.
she'll put like 3 things on Marketplace because she's like, well, I'm actually breaking even here. So that's how she'll. But again, the point is that we justify.
But does it work or not?
It works. And she does it. She actually delivers like within a day.
I'm like, I bought this $2,000 thing,
but she'll like everything that she sells, it's like perfectly positioned and it looks like it's out of the Macy's catalog or something. And so but we justify it with logic, right? And so when we're taking people through our sales process, you want to hook them with that emotional, strong transformation, bold promise, whatever. And then logic, you want to reinforce that. And then boom, you power stack that with some bonuses, but then also with your scarcity and deadlines. And so the entire 12-step sales page process meets all of those criteria and then some, which it also infuses what we call the 4 buyer types. And we'll get into that right now. We'll get into that in the future.
It's coming though. But if you're in TBL Plus, we're actually working on a custom GPT right now to help you implement all of this super quickly. So it's going to be awesome. Show them the sales page breakdown real quick, just as a teaser.
I got to pull it up.
Because you were talking and I felt bad calling it out, but I was like, you got to show
So if you're in TBL Plus, we actually included this. You included the bottom right. Where did you include what we just...
right there. It's 12-step sales letter.
12-step sales page formula. Okay, let me see if this is the one.
I think that's the one.
This is the actual cheat sheet for it.
Oh, wait, don't show all of it. Don't show all of it. Just a little bit.
You can't see this.
Show the diagram that you have pulled up. I think it's not on here yet.
No.
Okay, I'll give you some time to pull it up. We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Kim's gonna chit chat. I'm gonna hide it. I'm gonna hide my screen again. But I do think so. Literally, I gave this to Truyan. Shout out to Truyan. He's one of our new clients. And this guy, I've never seen somebody devour it. He
Truyan crushed
nuts.
It's awesome because what all of this is doing, guys, is it's building the ideal sales conversation. So you can have a sales conversation, individually with each one of your clients or your prospects, but at some point you want to be able to like either pre-sell someone or ideally sell them automatically, which means people are, joining your services, joining your coaching programs without having to have that extra touch. Yeah. And so when you take all these elements of the 5 irresistible offer kind of formula that we've been talking about, and then you plug that into an actual sales page that moves people, every section moves people into the next step and gets them excited, builds desire for the offer, gets them to say, absolutely, heck yes, I'm ready to buy. That's what the sales page formula, the 12-step sales letter formula actually does.
Absolutely.
Okay, quickly.
Yes.
This is just a tease.
I'm moving.
Because if I leave him, guys, he's just going to nerd out for 2 hours.
I'm moving us real quick. So I talked about this, right? So this section infuses the emotional argument. This is the logical argument. This is the scarcity argument. These are also are grabbing attention, identifying the problem, telling the story, blah, 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 introducing solutions. So these are the actual 12 steps.
And then the buyer types.
And then this actually will address each one of the 4 buyer types throughout the process. So you're literally hitting all and ticking all the boxes.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, though. Before they're ready for all of this, you got to hide it. That's enough. That's enough teasing.
Yeah, that's all you get.
That's all you get. But before you're ready for this, you got to go listen to our pricing episode. It's all about why you're undercharging and why you need to stop doing that in order to actually have a business that is profitable and not just an expensive hobby or a charity. So we're going to have here in the end screen that video up so that you watch that one next.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this one so far, let us know in the comments, what questions do you have about pricing and positioning and creating an irresistible offer? We love hearing you. Your feedback helps us create the next episode, and we're really doing this for you guys. So we want to make sure that you absolutely love every single one of the episodes. Don't forget, if you are ready to level up, if you've already had, really good traction in your business and you want to scale up, you want to take your business to the next level and you want to do it through content and online marketing, check out TBL Plus. You're going to absolutely love the program, and we'd love to have you in there. But I also want to say, please subscribe to the show.
Yes.
80% of you guys who watch this
Yeah.
podcast have not subscribed yet. So make sure to subscribe. It really helps us be on mission with us to help, 10,000 small businesses grow with content marketing. Share it with a friend and give us a thumbs up.
We have a huge ambitious goal to get this new channel to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
He's declaring it.
Yeah, we're declaring.
Oh my gosh.
So
that
please help
freaked
us.
me out,
So
but that's
like, subscribe, comment. It tells the algorithm this is good. So please watch this.
And share it with your friends.
And share it with your friends. I actually had a friend say I shared it with a couple friends. So that's amazing.
Go watch that episode next. We love you. We'll see you in the next one. Un beso. Bye for now.
See you guys.